Part 61. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 606. Chapter 606 Within 10 days. Ka. Outside Longshan and Qingping, there was a layer of blue light, and there were numerous cracks on the thick ice outside. But at this time, the two men were behind the faint white silhouette, but they reached out and a white gas town was crushed on the two. I saw that the faces of Longshan and Qingping suddenly became extremely ugly. The blue light that emerged from the outside of the two people, under the pressure of the white gas, flashing non-stop, no fa to expand outside. This faint white silhouette appeared in the back of the two people, and it was a white singer. Unclear, giving people an unusual God-secret place, the feeling of unobtrusive mo. Which heaven and sacred fruit is in secret place, Xuanhuan's god lust is still no change, still just looking at the hard support Longshan and Qingping, faintly said. Xuanhuan, you are dealing with us, do you want to know the whereabouts of this heaven and sacred fruit? Longshan's face also showed the incomparable bagad se, swearing surging sound. Do you think you have any choices? You are already a golden core cultivator, but you still don't understand that a cultivator is simply not qualified to talk to a cultivator who has too many arguments. Xuanhuan's face flashed a sarcasm of se, you say it now, I don't have Saking Ping for the time being, you don't say it now, I'm Sussy Qingping right now. You, Longshan suddenly felt a shock, and there was no trace of sweets on his face. Xuanhuan didn't speak at all, and reached for a stroke. A radiant ice lotus appeared in front of him. Obviously Longshan, if you don't say it next time, this powerful energy is obviously amazing ice lotus, it is necessary to sneak into the body of Qingping. This heaven and sacred fruit is on me, the face of Longshan is a piece of iron, and the words are squeezed out from the teeth. That would be annoying to fellow deist and take it out to me. Xuanhuan smiled a little, but did not look at Longshan at all, just looking at the naked ice lotus in front of him. The cultivator behind Longshan and Qingping, who is scattered around the white sigma, seems to be the vision flickers slightly, and the white air that the town smashed outside the two people disappeared without a trace. Rosie. Until now, Longshan and Qingping had time to turn around and see this person. In the heart of Longshan, I had already made plans to destroy indiscriminately. I was prepared to take out heaven and sacred fruit and destroy it directly. But at the moment, when I saw this person, I saw that Longshan and Qingping were trembled, and all the faces became a white but white. The next two did not dare to have any change in appearance. Longshan took a shot on his treasure receiving pocket, and the fruit of a Zuzihong se was taken out and ordered in front of Xuanhuan. Hong. After picking up this Zuzihong se fruit, Xuanhuan eyes flash, there are numerous ice crystal-like golden core sunlights. Golden core fourth layer. The long naked body of Longshan and Qingping was shocked at the same time. I saw Xuanhuan's golden core, which is also full of watermelon-like great treasure. SEZE is like a semi-transparent hockey puck. The surrounding light ripples are condensed into a small square talisman. The way it is suspended around the golden core, like a myriad of small shields, guarding his golden core. Ziyiguang is a charm. Cultivation base of golden core fourth layer. Previously, Longshan and Qingping thought that Xuanhuan was the cultivation base of golden core third layer, but did not expect that the Xuanhuan had reached the cultivation base of golden core fourth layer. After offering this golden core, Xuanhuan did not stop at all, and directly served the heaven and sacred fruit ton of Zuzihong se. Hong. Just a moment's time, I saw a fascinating Zuzihong se smoldering, volcano cooking, rushing out from the top of Xuanhuan, and all poured into the top of Xuanhuan's top of the giant treasure golden core. Ka. 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 Immediately, Xuanhuan's golden core turned out to be inflated. This heaven UN sacred fruit is also a kind of After the time of 3 consecutive stick of incense, Su Qianhuan no longer had an amazing Zuzihong Seun cook, but Su Qianhuan did not stop. I saw his hands up a stroke, always suspended above his head. The white Se bracelet, turned out to be broken, countless ice crystal like suffocating, instantly rushed into the original white Se bracelet above the Buddha's body like the Bodhisattva phantom. Immediately, this Bodhisattva was instantly reduced, and he invested in his golden core. Ka. 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 In Qi Longshan and Qingping's gaze, Su Qianhuan's golden core turned out to be an amazing expansion. His golden core has been swelled to almost twice the size of the original golden core. After the great treasure of the face, it was completely deformed and stabilized. A giant treasure golden core with a diameter like the face of the giant treasure, suspended in the head of Su Qianhuan, surrounded by countless Zhiaguang talisman suspension, a chilly chill, making it within a few tens of feet around the ground, starting on the ground produce a layer of frost. Wei Suo, this person has broken me a lot of good things. You dare to kai lust for him, originally this is the light, I can maiza you guys. Looking at this completely stable golden core, Su Qianhuan's body, a cold and arrogant atmosphere, but in your good Dai gave me a copy of Heaven UN sacred fruit. If it is the 10 commandments inside, if this person shows up, I will not bother you and let you go. If it is within the 10 commandments, this person 10 is afraid of Si, if he does not show up at all, then it can only blame you for reading a wrong friend. Only this point, depending on your cultivation base, you can do something so stupid. You can also go to Si, no wonder me. What is his ancient great treasure? The material itself seems to be the same as the spirit Ya, can directly refining as the pure ice UN. His golden core swells to such a degree, this ancient great treasure is usually a sigh of anger. It seems that he has no secret place, but can directly refining, directly used to enhance the golden core powerful energy. Life Fa great treasure. This kind of thing can only be the Fa great treasure of the legacy of ancient cultivator. And it is the same cultivator as the faculty that he has repaired, and the legacy of the Fa great treasure. He is doing the opposite, and he uses his faculty of the same cultivator that he has cultivated to improve his golden core powerful energy. What is the fear of powerful energy like golden core? At this time, Qi Longshan and Qingping have been completely shocked by Su Qianhuan's so scary golden core, and they are trembling with no surging sound. Dragon Burial Mound, the original 5 colors jade mountain has been completely opened and closed. On the flat ground that is slightly sunken, the secret place is white Se and fine white Se bone dust. The center of the white Se bone dust is a heavenly dragon head skeleton of Pang great treasure. Wei Suo is now suspended above the heavenly dragon head's cheekbones, shining in silver, as if there are countless tiny stars in the naked body. A white sequin that was visible in the blink of an eye, scattered from the dragon head below, kept rushing into the Wei Suo's naked body. Call rhyme table. On Wei Suo's, there is a surge of surging sound. This surging sound is Wei Suo's mouth and mouth exhaling 11 gas surging sound. Just 11, it is cooked to produce a strong great treasure of the gas 1 IU, there is a huge tungsy water. It's such as a surging sound, you can imagine, Wei Suo's meat at the moment, to what extent? Pu. Suddenly, all of the dragon heads of the GP great treasure collapsed and turned into a fine white ash. With the last white Siwen suffocating in the Wei Suo's naked body, Wei Suo's closed eyes were smashed. The numerous flashing starlights on his skin slowly disappeared, and then he slowly landed on the ground. Hong. His eyes just flashed, and his purple sea golden core immediately rose from his eyebrows. The Chang'e also immediately came out of his purple sea golden core. That's it? Wei Suo's eyes flashed a different light. At this moment, the water spirit, which was scattered on the scroll of the long river, has been condensed in the shape of a wave. Mystic level. His long river, the sky, has advanced to the powerful energy of the mystic level. And it's only a day's time. With the constant tempering of his flesh, the heavenly dragon water spirit is the time to raise this long river to the power of the real mystic level, which is twice as long as he expected. Mystic level, Wei Suo, your heavenly dragon star body tempering technique is really amazing, and it's also the power of heaven level top rank. I thought that in just one day, you have already upgraded this volume to the power of mystic level. Shui Ling surging sounds sounded immediately. When Wei Suo stopped repairing and refining, Shui Ling and Ji Ya and others were all around. This broken water attribute heavenly dragon has a limited scorpion. The great treasure is only 1/3 of the li he 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 he. Wei Suo eyes flash, put away the golden core, reached out and looked at it, but it was slightly regrettable. At this moment, the looming silver light on his hands is not too great for the change of great treasure. It is obvious that his meat is tyrannical compared to before, but he has not yet reached the second floor of the Starlight Flood Dragon body of Heavenly Dragon Star Body Tempering Technique. I originally wanted to leave a little more for you, but there is no banquet in the world. Wei Suo, let's go. Yin Liwa looked at Wei Suo, and her eyes were obviously a trace of resentment, but the goddess on her face was not hesitant, watching Wei Suo. Let's go. Wei Suo didn't have any embarrassment. He nodded and plunged together with Yin Liwa and Shui Ling. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 607. It's dead. What kind of monster is this man, and he can directly devour the demon pill that refines the ancient Tianlong to improve his behavior. I'm dead. There are monks, there are actually monks coming. The succubus deer, who had already become a blue Luan, had already felt that she would die, but at this time, she also felt a monk's breath and was approaching quickly. And it seemed that there was more than one monk approaching. The wild mountain where the Dragon Mound is located is already deep in the wild wilderness outside the Sky Dome. The wild wilderness is extremely vast. The wild wilderness between the Tianqian continent and the Yunling continent is not known to be the Tianqian continent. How many times? The places that the monks discovered were at most 1/10. In the depths of this wilderness, there are not many monks passing by at all. There will be no monks to explore the dangerous underground world. Moreover, the sound of fighting in this underground world cannot be heard at all. But now, there was another group of monks who arrived here. What kind of person is it that actually touched this dragon tomb? Who, at this moment, the voice of a monk had been heard in the distance. Get off, the mysterious young man exuded an immortal power, and he spit out a word directly and coldly. A golden glow emerged from the grey plain below. This group of golden light is precisely the remnant soul of the dragon. At this moment, the golden light on the remnant soul of the dragon is even more bleak. It is obvious that the remaining will in the remnant of the dragon will almost disappear. Behind the golden light is a faint yellow brilliance. This faint yellow brilliance is emitted from a spirit bird. At the back of the spirit bird, there are 6 monks appearing. There are monks who have arrived at the Dragon Mound before us, and have the first foot. The monk's repair is obviously not low, everyone be careful. A blue-shirt monk headed heard the word roll with strong coercion, frowning, and said such a word to the monk beside him. After saying this sentence, the monk in blue shirt stretched out his hand, but took off the blue cascade and put on a blue and red cascade with extremely strong aura. This blue-shirt monk is naturally Wei Suo. He and Ji Ya, Nunqiu, and others continued to follow the remnant soul of Tianlong and hunted into this dragon mound, but he did not expect that there was already a monk inside. And now the monks inside are obviously not low, but Wei Suo is naturally impossible to withdraw because of the other party's rolling word. Now he first changed the Qingming vestment, which will be obtained from the real people in the Qingcheng ruins. Yahuo Honglian vest has been put on. Good water spirit, this person is practicing water system exercises, and the grade is amazing. Envi Xiu glanced at the direction from the voice of the mysterious young man. No matter what kind of exercise he is, this is the dragon tomb. Even the king of the heavens will kill him. The voice of the old man in the green robe cried in Wei Zhuo's ear. Now through the dust on the ground, Wei Suo and others also know that they have entered the real dragon mound. As the dragon soul continued to fly forward, it was only a moment's time before an amazing aura revealed. The colorful jade mountain, shining extremely moist, also appeared in front of Wei Suo and others. Ah! Tianlong blood fossils. Tianlong Jingguo. This colorful jade mountain is all the jade stone formed by the blood of the dragon. Wei Suo, this kind of jade can increase Xuanhuan. The heavenly dragon crystal fruit above are said to be like the Qingxia vines, which can strengthen the god's mysterious appearance. Tianlong, there is actually a Tianlong that just fell. Ah! So many dragon skeletons. Ah, grab it. Wei Suo, all these things. This mountain must be removed. Qingluan, there is still a green Luan, this person. Seeing the scene around the colorful Yushan at a glance, the old man in green robe screamed like crazy. It's no wonder that the old man in the green robe, this dragon tomb is itself a huge treasure trove, and these things are still very useful for Wei Suo. But when I saw the green Luan and the mysterious young man who fell to the ground, the old man in green robe grunted and made a choking noise. Actually you. However, Wei Suo noticed the mysterious young man wearing a black golden vest, who seemed to open countless huge mouths and spouting water and spirit. At that moment, the white unicorn named Lin Wang was also suspended above the mysterious young man, which made Wei Suo instantly see the identity of the mysterious young man. The cultivation of this mysterious young man now looks much higher than before, and it is actually not in the Yunling continent, but appears in this dragon tomb, which is really too unexpected for Wei Suo. You. A look of surprise in the eyes of the mysterious young man flashed. Originally, he was not talking nonsense with the other party, he immediately started. But now it seems that the other party's voice is familiar and where they have heard it. You are not staying in the Yunling continent. Run here to do something. Wei Suo said this, and quickly scanned the surrounding scenes. It's you. The mysterious young man stunned a little, but he immediately reacted, and suddenly laughed like a baby. It's you. It's really nowhere to be found, you have no effort to come, you really are the Sunshine Boulevard, you don't go, has no door, you break in. Today I got this dragon tomb again, and you just came to the door. Today I am really looking forward to the reward. Wei Suo, who is this guy? Same way. So idiot Han Wei couldn't help but rolled his eyes. It's him. He didn't die? How is it possible? While the mysterious young man laughed loudly, Succubus Deer also shivered and recognized Wei Suo. Upon recognizing Wei Suo, her first instinct reaction was to run away immediately, because she knew that she had conspired to calculate Wei Suo last time, and Wei Suo would certainly not let her go. But when she got up from the thick keel dust on the ground, she suddenly paused. A thick yellow fist-sized bead was exposed in the thick keel dust beneath her. The bead is now in the dust, only showing a rounded top. The surface is like glass, but the inside is like an amber liquid, exuding a strange luster. This is. The eyes of this insidious and sly succubi deer flickered suddenly, and the fear in his eyes diminished. He stopped silently, and there was a sneaky, conspiracy look. Lin King watermark. This is the magic weapon of the three ancient emperors. At this time, the nun saw the white small seal in the hands of the mysterious young man and the white unicorn suspended above the white small seal. Dragon remnant soul, No wonder he can find this dragon mound. The humble fire spirit on your body, let him roll out and die, the majestic white water unicorn was issued. There was a roar. For him, the last defeat in the hands of the old man in the green robe and Weisuo, it was a shame to be shamed by a clever calculation like the old man in the green robe. Your sister, Weisuo suddenly screamed in his heart. This white unicorn is so called, he has the secret of the body, and there is nothing to hide in front of Yin Li and Nunchiu. Humble you, cheap you. What's wrong with the magic weapon ranks, what's wrong with the water unicorn, and it's also killing you, don't run this time with the ability. Suddenly, the ghost raising pot on the chest appeared, screaming at the extremely majestic white water unicorn. Weisuo, you actually have such an ancient spirit. Yin Li and Envy Shiu suddenly glared at the old man in the green robe that appeared. You're looking for death. I'm going to put you under the hot sun and let the real sun burn you to a lowly yin fire spirit. Slowly, the white water unicorn, which had already shrunk, swelled again and became the size of a house, growled in anger. Dead you. Weisuo, don't talk nonsense with them, kill them, he is refining what awesome water element treasure. It may be this demon pill of the water dragon. If he is refined, his strength will be very terrifying, the old man in green robe also screamed. This old man in green robe is extremely face-saving. This white water unicorn has always said that he is inferior, that he is humble, but also angry that he is completely crazy. Boom. But at this moment, the aura of the mysterious young man suddenly rose sharply, and the entire dragon tomb seemed to become damp instantly, as if he were above the sea. The cultivation of the mysterious young man, obviously at this time, skyrocketed a level. Is it? Hearing the roar of the old man in green robe, the mysterious young man looked at the old man in green robe and Weisuo, but a faint smile appeared on his face. Although it is only in the late stage of Jindan triple, it is almost impossible to arrive. Jindan is fourfold. But now it is enough for me to exhibit Water Emperor Tianhe. Boy surnamed Wei, before you die, I will show you a secret technique of the three emperors, the Water Emperor Tianhe. As this sounded out, mysterious young man's hands flicked, white water light instantly condensed in the sky above his head, forming a very dignified white Tianhe. Immediately, crystal water droplets the size of heads, with terrifying power, slowly fell from the motionless white Tianhe. In every drop of water, there was actually a ghost image of the armored emperor, and the water was gleaming. Snapped. A dark golden sword light stimulated by Weisuo hit one of the drops of water, but was directly smashed. The power of each drop of water is still far above Weisuo's dark emperor's sword spirit. And these water drops are densely suspended around the mysterious young man. So many amazing water drops, I am afraid that they are powerful ancient treasures of the intermediate level, and they can't be broken. This thing. But at a glance at this sight, Weisuo couldn't help but scream. He felt that he really likes this guy more and more. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 608. Chapter 608 Encounter Li Zi. Coiling Dragon Reverend. 7 Leaves Reverend's naked body was awkward and his head almost erected. Learn School Dance 5. At this time, Weisuo took it out of one of its treasure-receiving pockets, and it turned out to be a corpse, and 7 Leaves Reverend saw it at first glance, the body of Coiling Dragon Reverend. No wonder Coiling Dragon Reverend has no audio, it is dead in this man's hand. 7 Leaves Reverend's reaction was also extremely fast. As soon as Weisuo took out the body of Coiling Dragon Reverend, a purple oil lamp was formed between the hands. This purple oil lamp is engraved with all kinds of exotic animals, and the rune is very simple, like the traces of a comet flying in the air, with a burst of ancient desolation. This is ancient heart lantern, mystic rank, powerful energy, itself to a great treasure of heavenly fire furnace, can be used for artifact refinement. Weisuo, be careful not to damage the shapeshift great art great treasure. The 7 Leaves Reverend has just turned out the purple shifting shapeshift great art great treasure, and the surging sound of green-robed old man rang in Weisuo's ear. Green-robed old man surging sound at the same time, dozens of flames that condense like amethysts have been spurred from the shapeshift great art great treasure by 7 Leaves Reverend, while 7 Leaves Reverend reaches out. 1 point, it seems that I want to put away the 16 unvoiced green flags first. But Weisuo didn't panic at all, just took the body of Coiling Dragon Reverend and smiled at Yin Liwa next to him. Yin Liwa looked at him with a strange look. It seemed that he had to deliberately take the body of Coiling Dragon Reverend out, but at the same time he reached out and a red round mirror floated in front of her. Immediately, a red fire column emerged from the small round mirror and hit the dozens of amethyst flames on the way. Pa! The amethyst-like flame and the red pillar of fire collided, and they could not resist it. All the strips broke open. Seeing this scene, the face of 7 Leaves Reverend suddenly showed a very stunned look. Whoosh! But before he could have any extra movements, Weisuo seemed to have a flash of intuition in front of him, and at the same time, an essence metal ring with a diameter of about 1 foot and a flash of gold, white, and silver appeared in 7 Leaves. Outside of Reverend. Dang! The 7 Leaves Reverend, which has no half-stained blood on his face, spurts a cyan glow on the essence metal ring, which makes the essence metal ring tremble and shrink. Study. Chi. But at the same time, a thin dark golden sword light instantly came to him. This is Xuanhuan Reverend. In the horror of 7 Leaves Reverend, this thin, dark gold sword chi easily pierced a layer of spirit light on his cyan shapeshift great art suit, directly in his heart artery's secret place. A wound that is transparent before and after. The general cultivator, even if it is now Weisuo, the heart arteries are shattered, the vitality of the whole body is naturally cut off, and it will fall immediately. But just as the 7 Leaves Reverend heart arteries were pierced, the skin on the surface of his naked body instantly appeared a few strange light characters, as if a few more tattoos were suddenly added. Hong! At the same time, the 16-faced unvoiced green flag suddenly burned fiercely, and the dazzling blue light made it difficult for people to open their eyes, without shapeshift great art. At the same time, the top of 7 Leaves Reverend suddenly burst open, a group of blue light from the spurt, desperately fleeing backwards. Seeing this gleaming cockroach is extremely amazing, it is mixed with the dazzling blue light woven into the intercourse, but at this time, Weisuo just grabs the surging sound color and reaches forward. A surging sound, a blue-black yin chi blazing out instantly, I don't know how many feet, condense is a black-black, the appearance is still blue-haired terrifying ghost claws, the claw will be this blue light grab your hand. Ah! Once caught by this terrifying ghost claw, the surface of the glaucom immediately sizzled out the hot oil in the burning red iron pan, while a white ash was emerging. You killed Xuanhuan Reverend, you are Weisuo. You even killed Coiling Dragon Reverend. You can't kill me. Otherwise, your digital friends will definitely not be guaranteed. At the same time, there is a surging sound of 7 Leaves Reverend. What do you mean? The surging sound of 7 Leaves Reverend made Weisuo's brow slam, and Mystic Fiend Ghost Claw didn't continue to grasp it, but the 5 fingers were slightly loosened, forming a cage that trapped the blue light. It's... Why, you still don't know, Qi Longshan and Qingping ask for the lust for you to go to Black Jade Ridge. Let us grab the young master. If you don't go to Black Jade Ridge within 10 days, our young master will kill Qi Longshan and Qingping. King Guangji, immediately out of the surging sound. What? Upon hearing this, the faces of Jia and Nangang Yuking were slightly changed, and I couldn't help but turn to look at Weisuo. I saw that Weisuo's original smug face was completely yin and sank. But he didn't say anything right away. He just reached out and wrapped it with true Yuan, the body of the 7 Leaves Reverend and the shapeshift great art great treasure called Purple Heart Lantern. I tell you it anyway, in addition to our young master, our true martial sect Supreme Elder White Feather Reverend is also in Black Jade Ridge. With your cultivation base, it is impossible to save Qi Longshan and Qingping from their hands. Only Shapeshift Great Art can use me to make conditions, intercourse for Qi Longshan and Qingping. King Guangji, but immediately out of the surging sound of incomparable White Feather Reverend, Shui Linger's face suddenly changed. White Feather Reverend is the amazing cultivation base of the Golden Core 4th layer. It is the second person of true martial sect in addition to Su Xuanhuan. Moreover, this person is very sinister. If it is hands-on, it often does not directly kill the opponent. It is set by Shapeshift Great Art to hold the opponent, abolish the cultivation base, make it a waste, and then throw it into his White Feather Palace, do his servant. Being ruined and being a low servant is a lot more difficult for the cultivator than being directly killed. This person's name and cultivation base, Shui Linger also mentioned Wei Suo in particular when Wei Suo asked about true martial sect. I don't talk nonsense with you, you don't want to know anything from my mouth. I am using Shapeshift Great Art, our young master knows that within 8 days, you can only use Qi Longshan and Qingping if you use me for intercourse. After the surging sound, the whole blue light was immediately shrunk and became a golden core bead. Wei Suo's brows wrinkled slightly, and now his divine consciousness swept away, the body of the 7 leaves reverend, but there is no golden core. This Dao technique Shapeshift Great Art of 7 leaves reverend is obviously also the divine soul escape, the Shapeshift Great Art that can be reborn in the body possession, and this Dao technique Shapeshift Great Art seems to be uniquely based on the golden core. This is the reincarnation of our cloud spirit continent Liu Yangzong. This person actually has this Dao technique Shapeshift Great Art. Does it have anything to do with Liu Yangzong? Upon seeing such a change, Yin Liwa's eyes showed some suspicious looks. Cloud Spirit Continent 6 Yangzone, Wei Suo took a look at Yin Liwa. Liu Yangzong is one of Cloud Spirit Continent's grand treasures, located in the department of Cloud Spirit Continent, and he also heard about Cloud Spirit Continent. Yes, this kind of reincarnation can be used to convert divine soul into golden core after turning into this kind of pedicure. It is also necessary to understand the Shapeshift Great Art cultivator in order to apply Shapeshift Great Art and take off his divine soul again. Yin Liwa looked at Wei Suo and nodded. It seems that true martial sect young master Su Jianhuan should also understand this Shapeshift Great Art. Yin Liwa, many of your Xingcorp sect's Shapeshift Great Art, are made with the cultivator's body, divine soul. Can you use it to refine the Shapeshift Great Art Great Treasure? Wei Suo asked after a slight indulging. This kind of pedigree can be used to refine the Dan sword, but it is just the same as the Annihilation Golden Core. The Shapeshift Great Art is consumed. I also know the means of this artifact refinement. Refining this Shapeshift Great Art, the materials such as yin phosphorus are also available in my body. It can be refining in just a few days. The power of this Danish sword is not under the Annihilation Golden Core, but it is a sword Qi, not afraid to damage itself. Yin Liwa looked at Wei Suo and her eyes flashed. Do you want to directly convert this maturity into a Shapeshift Great Art? The other side is great treasure. Even if I and the other intercourse are easy, the other party can't really be honest with us intercourse. Wei Suo took a deep breath and glanced at Yin Liwa. He reached out and touched the spot of the 7 leaves reverend to Yin Liwa. Things like lust have changed like this. I am afraid to eat it once. No Shapeshift Great Art will send you back. This Dantai, you bring back Cloud Spirit Continent and make it into a Shapeshift Great Art. You can also rely on it. When we heard Wei Suo say, Shui Linger and Ji Ya and others are all slamming. You want to be as soon as possible? Culture Water Emperor Sun swallowing secrets? Going to save your 2 friends? Yin Liwa's look is very calm, looking at Wei Suo. That's. At this time, Han Wei suddenly a surging sound exclaimed, and Wei Suo's eyes suddenly solidified. Just in front of the mountains in front of the left side of the crowd, a figure suddenly appeared. This figure walks in the void, just taking a step, at least a few hundred feet away. A phantom of a distant mountain, as he crossed the void, continually shattered outside his body, and kept condensing. It's Li Ziyi. Upon seeing the phantom of the distant mountains, Wei Suo suddenly looked stunned and unconsciously released a surging sound. Li Ziyi. This person is Li Ziyi. How could he appear in this secret place? The faces of Ji Ya and Han Wei and others have changed at the same time. His breath has been scattered, it seems that it has reached the end of the strong state, and it will soon be unable to hold it, Shui Linger said to Wei Suo. Obviously, the phantom of Li Ziyi's distant mountains is very scattered. It is obvious that the flow of true yuan and qi and blood in Ti is very disorderly and weak. Go, let's go and see. After Wei Noo nodded to Ji Ya and others, he immediately followed Li Ziyi's position and followed. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 609. Chapter 609. Are you also a rabbit? Li Ziyi has obviously reached the end of the strong, although it is still moving in the air, but the degree and power is no longer terrifying. The distant mountains of spiritual qi condense outside, when it appeared, seemed to collapse. Although Wei Suo and others are only the common controls of the shapeshift great art great treasure, they all keep up with Li Ziyi, just because Li Ziyi's lightning mystic moon powerful energy is too terrifying, and no one knows this crazy Li Ziyi will suddenly turn around and start, so Wei Suo and others are not too close. Li Ziyi seems to be aimless, just heading towards a secret place. A moment later, Li Ziyi fell into the secret place below the rocky mountain forest, but after the time of the half stick of incense, he was flying in the sky and volleyed. It was just a time when the stick of incense was not available. Li Ziyi fell again. After a short pause, she flew in the sky and continued to volley. Wei Suo, Mystic Wind Sect, so many golden core great treasure cultivators, even Lin Taixu personally shot, can't hold him, and maybe there will be people who have Mystic Wind Sect to follow. It is too dangerous to follow him, or we don't want chased. After watching Li Ziyi's two ups and downs, Han Wei couldn't help but watch Wei Suo. This person's heaven-level top-rank attack, Shapeshift Great Art Lightning Mystic Moon, is extremely terrifying. If you can get this kind of Shapeshift Great Art, you will face Su Xuanhuan at the moment and have a great treasure. But Wei Suo shook his head immediately. He shouldn't have been able to hold on for a long time. For this Dao technique Shapeshift Great Art, it's worth taking a risk. Yin Liwai, if we don't want to do this, you shouldn't have two great treasure within the heavens dome immediately, Wei Suo, who is still keeping up with, said to Yin Liwai. If I want to go, I will help you to make this 7 leaves reverence radish into a dance sword and then go. Yin Liwai looked at Li Ziyi in front and said calmly. Wei Suo glanced at Yin Liwai and saw the look of Yin Liwai's eyes. He didn't say much, just nodded to Yin Liwai. At the same time, he also remembered what it was like. He reached out and took out the body of 7 leaves reverend, which had already been put away, and took out the blood-feeding shapeshift great art. A surging sound of Wei Suo is directly toward the rear of the sky, stimulating the powerful energy of the blood-feeding shapeshift great art knife. A red light hits the clouds above the backside. Immediately, Wei Suo reached out and put the blood-feeding shapeshift great art into the chest of 7 leaves reverend. The reason for this is that the bloodshift great art knife originally extracted Jin and reverend's qi and blood, while the 7 leaves reverend is the cultivation base of the golden core second layer, which is higher than the metal layer reverend. The cultivation base, which absorbs the qi and blood of 7 leaves reverend, the powerful energy of the shapeshift great art knife will be much stronger than before. Just now Li Ziyi suddenly appeared. Wei Suo and green-robed old man were shocked and forgot about this. Now, between Yin Liwai intercourse and Wei Lio, Wei Suo is reacting to this. Fortunately, the time is still short. The qi and blood in leaves reverend Ti did not solidify. Wei Suo, he stopped, but at this time, Ji Ya suddenly came out with a surging sound, low surging sound. Li Ziyi, who was far away from the secret place, suddenly stopped and looked at the body of Wei Suo and Seven Leaves Reverend. It won't be the powerful energy of the Bloodshift Great Art Knife that angered him, Han Wei said nervously. Looking at it from afar, I still can't see the face of Li Ziyi. I only see the clothes on Li Ziyi seem to be very embarrassing. The secret place is a hole, tattered and bloody. But only a few breaths of time, Li Ziyi turned back to the head, and then after a few steps in the void, but it fell to the secret place below the deserted mountain. After the fall, this great treasure cultivator, which is obviously completely mad, is not flying in the sky as it was twice before. After 2 stick of incense time, it will not be swept out. After another stick of incense time, a round of Chaoyang spurted out from the east side of the sky and sprinkled Wandao Qinghui. I am going to see that this person is too dangerous. You should stay here first, don't come over. Seeing Li Ziyi still not coming out, Wei Suo couldn't help but talk to Ji Ya and Shui Linger and others. Wei Suo, you have to be careful. Hearing Wei Suo, Ji Ya and Han Wei are very worried. This flame sparrow monster mirror will give you back, and if you do, you should be able to offset the many powerful energy of this human shapeshift great art. Yin Liwa reached out and took the flame sparrow monster mirror to Wei Suo's hand. Wei Suo nodded, not to mention, directly holding the flame sparrow monster mirror in his hand, and the other hand directly grabbed the blood-feeding shapeshift great art knife and flew over to Li Ziyi's position. Li Ziyi's fallen mountain is very desolate. It grows small trees of 1 or 2 people, and the ground is littered. Grabbing over the secret place above the mountain, just a sweep of it, Wei Suo was suddenly stunned. Next to one of the mountains, the great treasure stone, Li Ziyi is leaning against the great treasure stone, facing the rising sun. Li Ziyi at the moment is actually white, even the eyebrows have become snow white but white, many wrinkles on the face, it seems to be a full 10-old man. The shapeshift great art suit on his body has completely become a fragment of the pieces. His chest's secret place, there is a wound that is transparent before and after, faintly can see its gilt. There are also 2 wounds on his left rib that seem to have been cut by sharp objects, and even the bones inside are seemingly broken. When Wei Suo saw him at a glance, he was looking at the rising sun in the secret place. He didn't know what was muttering, and the turbid eyes hung 2 tears. It looks pitiful again, and it is a serious injury. Suddenly seeing Wei Suo flying over the sky, the madman great treasure cultivator curled up against the great treasure stone, was shocked, but when he saw Wei Suo's look, the madman great treasure cultivator did not get up. Just look at Wei Suo and mutter, "Good guy," also looking at Wei Suo's left-handed bloodshift great art knife, muttered, "Bad person." Wei Suo's slight glimpse, involuntarily looked at his own blood-sucking shapeshift great art knife. Bad person. Li Ziyi saw Wei Suo's gaze at the black blood-sucking shapeshift great art knife, and immediately nodded more surely. Bad person? Are you the cultivator I killed? Wei Suo's vision flickered for a moment, tempted seemed to look at this completely mad cultivator. Bad person, the head has been snow white but white, Li Ziyi looks very sad, nodded again, his fingers opened a broken piece of clothing on his arm, and there was a burnt scorch under the shirt. This is the man who hurts you. Wei Suo's heart is another move. Bad person, can't beat it, I hide, bad person still chasing. Li Ziyi nodded again, fearing the pain, and covering the broken corner. You just got him here, is there any other bad person chasing you? Is there a cultivator of shapeshift great art great treasure with an empty great treasure chase? Wei Suo at this time already know 7 Leaves Reverend why in this secret place appeared. Originally the 7 Leaves the Reverend is certainly do not know where secret place, trace to Li Ziyi trace, all the way in pursuit to this, and this Li Ziyi seems to have really oil to do the lamp withered, not 7 Leaves Reverend opponent. Before affirmation 2 people have intercourse hand, Li Ziyi is escaped, and 7 Leaves Reverend is just in this area, met them, want to seize the opportunity to pillage, the result instead encounter iron plate. At the moment, Li Ziyi is simply mad at Wei Suo, and the great treasure is seen before Wei Suo pierce the body of 7 leaves reverend with a blood-feeding shape-shift great art knife. Li Ziyi seems to have no hostility towards Wei Suo. However, Wei Suo asked again and again that this completely mad master treasure cultivator did not answer. A moment later, the mad cultivator, but squatted, pulled a grass next to it, stuffed a few grass in the mouth, both hands still curled up in the chest, looks very weird. Wei Suo really can't understand the madness of the great treasure cultivator. What did it mean? After watching the great treasure for a while, Wei Suo couldn't help but fell down and wanted to fall near Li Ziyi. Talk to him and see. But when Wei Suo fell, the mad cultivator, which was devastated, was immediately and renewed with a very vigilant look. The eyes immediately revived the fierce light. It seems that Wei Suo is approaching again, and he will be ready to go. Seeing Wei Suo can only stop moving, not dare to approach, just looking at the crazy giant treasure cultivator. The madness precious treasure cultivator suddenly jumped forward and took a few grasses and stuffed them into his mouth. Both hands still curled up in the chest. What does this mean? Wei Suo wanted to understand what the meaning of this crazy giant treasure cultivator was, so he couldn't help but learn the crazy giant treasure cultivator and pulled 2 grasses from the side. Also stuffed into the mouth. Seeing the action like Wei Suo, the crazy giant treasure cultivator glimpsed a little, and looked suspiciously at Wei Suo, and stuffed the grass in the mouth. Wei Suo also learned him, and then stuffed the grass in the mouth. Daidu, are you a rabbit? Li Ziyi, the crazy giant treasure cultivator, saw the action like Wei Suo, and finally couldn't help it, some hesitantly asked. Wei Suo almost fell to the ground. It turned out that this crazy giant treasure cultivator is so weird, the mind has been confused to a certain extent, and I feel that I am a head rabbit. At the moment, he also regarded Wei Suo as a rabbit. Yeah, why, can't you see that I am a rabbit? Wei Suo resisted the urge to vomit blood, and did not move the surging sound to look at this madness precious treasure cultivator. I didn't see it. I can see it now. No wonder you killed me for the bad person. Li Ziyi's extremely vigilant look disappeared at once, and she said it with great joy. She stood up and walked towards Wei Suo. Can rabbits walk like this? Wei Suo was speechless again, still looking at the incoming Li Ziyi, and asked, I see you hurt very badly, how are you? I hurt too much, I have no strength at all, maybe I will die, but I can meet a rabbit before I die. It's good madness. Great treasure cultivator looked at Wei Suo and said. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 610. Ah. Ah. The Water Emperor's Way to Eat the Sun. The old man in green robe shivered violently, every thought was screaming, but his mouth was afraid to make any sound. This white unicorn has tried its best to produce a classic book, which turned out to be The Water Emperor's Way to Eat the Sun. The Water Emperor's Way to Eat the Sun is equivalent to the Master of the Water Emperor's heritage, and it is also the source of the amazing speed of this mysterious young man's cultivation. This door can directly swallow the refining water demon, water element spirit stone, spirit tree, and even some gold monks and treasures of monks with sufficient water spirits. As long as there are enough resources, enough water elemental aura, and the speed of cultivation, it will be extremely terrifying, and it is a real top level. This door is the supreme book of the 3 ancient emperors, the real power of the 3 ancient emperors. Even the 3 great emperors' destruction techniques are nothing compared to this one. The real top level, and at the speed of cultivation, ranks among the top level of the top level. In this way, any monk must be crazy when he sees it. This king of spirits, before the fall, stayed like this one. But the old man in green robe can see that this classic book condensed purely with vigor will soon dissipate, so the old man in green robe, although every thought is trembling for this door, but dare not make a sound, fearing to be disturbed, come to Weizhou to write down this classic. What happened? But the killing of the last transparent villain of this mysterious young man made the old man in green robe helplessly exclaim. This last transparent man of the mysterious young man, with the magical powers of Wei Suo and others, is simply impossible to stop. This king of kings and spirits knows this mysterious young man better than anyone else. In its view, there is no way to prevent the escape of this mysterious young man, so it only condensed such a hatred before he fell. Classics. It condensed such a classic book, which is to ask Wei Suo to avenge him in the future. But at the moment, the last transparent villain with the mysterious young man didn't escape and was killed. What is going on? Is there a monk coming again? During the moment when Wei Suo and the mysterious young man played together, the succubus deer was still nestled in the pile of dragon bone dust in the colorful jade mountain. His eyes flickered secretly. I don't know what to calculate. A transparent villain escaped, and the mind of the succubus deer was suddenly full of gloating thoughts, because this mysterious young man and Wei Suo were her opponents. The happier she is. But at this moment, I suddenly felt the fall of the last transparent villain of the mysterious young man. This succubus deer was also horrified, looking towards the grey plains. Boss. I feel a very dangerous breath. The feathers on the Yangtze bird are all raised a bit, and cannot help but exclaim. What is that? Immediately, Nuxiu, Yinlai and Jia and others saw a grey wave covering the earth, coming from the grey plains below. Tianlong shaky, is Tianlong shaky? I'm going to hide in the ghost-raising tank, otherwise my vitality will be completely melted, the old man in green robe yelled in horror. Under the green light, he immediately disappeared in Wei Suo's chest. How come Tianlong shaky suddenly comes? So many heavenly dragons are so angry that they flooded the entire underground plain, and there was no way to avoid it. Yin Li and Han Wei and others were screaming again and again. The overwhelming grey cloud gas is actually all the dragon gas that can melt all the true power. These heavenly dragon spirits were originally gathered in the lowlands of the plains below, but now they don't know how they suddenly all rushed out towards the colorful jade mountain where these people are. It was only a moment's time, and the grey sky filled the entire underground space, which was less than 500 feet away. As far as the line of sight is concerned, behind the grey Tianlongshiki, or the grey Tianlongshiki, there is no end at all. It seems that the underground plain behind is completely filled with Tianlongshiki. Wei Suo, what now? Looking at the overwhelming grey, Han Wei couldn't help turning his head and exclaimed at Wei Suo. Don't disturb him, let him write down this classic. Such a sky filled with space, he can't do anything at all, he can only take one step and one step. Nangong Yuking and Ji Yat and the female nuns, both at the same time, stop Han Wei. At this moment, Wei Suo was still motionless. He watched the Water Emperor's day driving technique condensed by Lin Wangkailing, his eyes kept blinking, and he didn't care about the approaching grey waves. Puff. It was only an instant that the grey air waves flooding the entire space, the tide generally rushed to everyone, and the Water Emperor's way to eat the sun in front of Wei Suo was swallowed by the grey air waves, and disappeared immediately. What? Although he had been prepared for a long time, Yin Li and Ji Yat and others standing beside Wei Suo couldn't help but exclaimed. The true elements in the body are instantly melted in ice and snow, and disappear directly. The true element is the source of the monk's power. The true element within the body dissipates instantly, and the feeling that this force disappears instantly is terrifying. What? Even the demon in the body of the Yangtze bird instantly melted and cleaned, no imperial air, fell down, and the faint yellow aura on his body completely disappeared. The overwhelming Tianlong Kikai continued to roll forward and diffuse forward. After a while, there was a booming echo in the front. It seemed that it had reached the end of the underground continent and completely filled the entire dragon mound. Wei Suo, did you remember that classic? Han Wei asked, looking at Wei Suo beside him. At this moment, the entire dragon tomb is grey and looks very empty, as if it is in an inexplicable world. and the real element in Han Wei and others is now gone, and the whole body is full of the feeling of weakness. Just finished. Wei Suo looked at Han Wei and nodded with excitement. Fang Cai just swallowed up the Water Emperor's trick to the sun at this moment, but he just remembered the last paragraph of the Water Emperor's trick to the sun. Why is this ghost thing like this? It seems that it will take at least half an hour for these ghost things to recede. The Yangtze bird on the ground looked extremely depressed and said. Obviously, the dragon's evil spirits are heavy this day, and the top part is slowly sinking, but it seems that the speed of the settlement is very slow. It will take at least half an hour for the gray gas to settle down again. During this period of time, even if it is swallowed, it will be useless. Ahahaha. God help me. At this time, the side of the colorful jade mountain was bursting out with laughter. The blue Luan transformed by succubus deer looked at Wei Suo and others with a smile of great pride. God help me also, this blue Luan, won't it be because the huge demon in the body has disappeared? The stimulation is too big, so crazy. Yang Hiniao looked at this blue Luan and couldn't help saying, I said to my elder sister, these great chi are Tianlongshiki, but they will melt away the true element, and will not have much impact on cultivation. As long as this Tianlongshiki fades, you can recover slowly, without being so sad. I'm sad? Don't I know this is Tianlongshiki? Do you want to remind you? This succubus deer winced, and said, who is your big sister? Qingluan has grown into you like this, at least it will take thousands of years. It is much older than my age, and it is not wrong for me to call your elder sister. Yang Hiniao couldn't help saying. If I wasn't a green Luan at all, it was just a blue Luan incarnate. This succubus deer looked at Wei Suo with a sneer. I've heard you suddenly, can you hear my voice? Wei Suo suddenly froze, frowning. Are you a succubus deer? Haha. How about it? I didn't expect it. I didn't think that even the space rift could kill you. But today, you don't have such good luck. Haha. Jiao laughed with pride. I didn't expect you to become a blue Luan. Wei Suo's face immediately appeared extremely cold. He looked at this proud, smiling blue spirit bird, but I don't understand, you at this moment of death, what else can be proud of? I'm dying. The sound of succubus deer sounded like a funny joke, and looked at Wei Suo condescendingly. At this moment, everyone's true Yuan and demon Yuan disappear, in this case, can only rely on physical strength. Although the ancient Qingluan is not known for its physical strength, but compared to ordinary monsters and monks like you, physical strength, but it is too much to force it. Really? Then you give it a try. Wei Suo glanced at the blue spirit bird holding the winning ticket and sneered. No tears in the coffin. In a cold hum, succubus deer didn't seem to want to talk nonsense with Wei Suo either. His feet flew into the air, and he flew towards Wei Suo. With her movements, a huge mass of yang and heat appeared in her body. This is the breath created by the instant vitality of the body's huge blood. Qingluan is the blood of the ancient phoenix family. The blood inside the body is extremely huge. This fluttering power is extremely terrifying. Even a huge stone grinding plate is estimated to be broken by her at once. What is this vision? When the green Luan moved, she felt Wei Suo must be beaten miserably by herself, but what made her feel a little strange at the moment was that she saw Ji Ya and others around Wei Suo, including Yang Hiniao, looking at her. The looks are very strange, and even seem to have some sympathy in the eyes. Ah! How is it possible? Seeing that she was about to pounce on Wei Suo's body, but at this moment, what made her instantly give a horrible scream is that Wei Suo suddenly moved, and a bigger and more horrible blood came out of her body. With a boom, Wei Suo threw a punch, and this blue Luan only felt as if he had hit a huge mountain, and was hit by Wei Suo with a punch. Asterisk. Student Q put a top in the book review area that can be used to exchange the mobile M value for a perfect card to read books with vertical and horizontal coins. Those who are interested can take a look. Thank you again for your support. Thank you for the many times to organize the information from up to now. We have created many miracles by the end of this month. I will report again on what kind of legend we have created. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 611. Boom. The succubus deer was hit like a meteorite on the ground. How is this possible? The succubus deer was incredulously rushing towards Wei Suo again. But with the sound of boom, Wei Suo's body was even more horrified, and he hit the succubi deer with a punch. What? The succubus deer was tumbling with blood, and all the internal organs were injured by the shock. After struggling for a few times, it was only able to climb up in the thick keel dust, trembling like a soup chicken. I had a fair deal with you that day, but you conspired to calculate me. If I had a crystal tablet on hand, 100% would fall. Wei Suo walked towards the succubus deer step by step, the silver light flashing on his body, the huge breath, like a python approaching. If it is not the dragon, you must still pretend to cheat our trust, and then the conspiracy counts us. Now I kill you. What else do you have to say? How is it possible? How could you have such a powerful physical body? When you last came out of Qingcheng market, you didn't have such a powerful physical body at all. Succubi deer continued crying hysterically, retreating on one side. Yep. Wei Suo continued to step towards the succubus deer, but at this moment, his heart suddenly shuddered and looked towards the side. Ah! This ancient dragon! How is this possible? At the same time, Nanjiu, Yanli, Jia, and others all changed their colors in shock and exclaimed. A tremendous breath that shook the heavens and the earth burst out from the colorful jade mountain, and the white ancient dragon lying quietly on the colorful jade mountain emitted a dazzling white light on his body and lifted his body. Isn't this ancient Tianlong actually died? Is it just a fraud? There is an imperceptible cunning look in his eyes. The succubus deer who retreated to the place where the mysterious young man first shot down was also in one body. Shivering and stiff. Boom. The white light emitted by the ancient white dragon was spread like a tide, turning the entire underground world into white. It lifted its body halfway, its huge faucet facing Weizhuo, and two eyes larger than Weizhuo's body, looking directly at Weizhuo. Boom. An indescribable huge dragon breath came from this white ancient dragon. It looked at Weizhuo, a paw came out and pressed towards Weizhuo. What? Jia, Nanjiu, Yanli, and others all turned pale, and once again erupted in horror. This dragon claw seemed to cover the whole world. When it was just protruding, it rolled up an amazing wind, so that Jia and others could not stand and floated back. At the same time that this dragon claw was protruding, the body of the ancient Tianlong, which was difficult to describe with words, appeared numerous inexplicable light patterns in the sky, and the light patterns seemed to be one by one. But it is not a monk's writing of any age. The divine light in the eyes of the ancient Tianlong has been old and degenerated to the extreme, but its majesty and its probing power still far exceed the limit imaginable by Jin Dan monk. Just like the torrent of years, the vast roads are so general that it is simply difficult to resist. Ah! This dragon is so angry, it's what inspired it? I'm afraid it has already sensed the arrival of me and that guy, even their people. It is to guard this dragon tomb. It has reached the end of the real oil lamp, so we have to wait for the dragon's evil spirits to be fully activated to launch the final blow to protect the dragon mound. Even the demon pill that the guy devoured it has no action. It's over. We are all over this time. No one can resist the last majesty of the ancient Tianlong. Succubus deer stiffened her body, but her eyes were immediately filled with horror, which was the first to react. Tianlong falls, the final majesty is enough to make the world lose its color. When the claws of the white sky dragon came out, the flames on Wei Suo were like the sun, and in the whistling wind, the silver light was shining, and the fists were shot towards the claws of the sky dragon. But compared with the last majesty of this white ancient dragon, Wei Suo's arrogance was still like a candlelight in a violent wind, and it seemed to be instantly extinguished. Everyone can see that Wei Suo could not stop this white ancient dragon's blow. But at this moment, the time in the entire underground space seems to be suddenly still. The claws of the ancient Tianlong suddenly stopped not far in front of Wei Suo. Kong Ang. The yellow divine light that emerged from the eyes of this ancient sky dragon enveloped Wei Suo, and the sound of a huge and profound mysterious dragon chanted in the entire underground space. The whole scene is like this white ancient dragon, talking with Wei Suo. But for only a short moment, this white ancient dragon with an ancient vicissitudes in his body suddenly dimmed in his eyes. On its body, on the ground covered with thick keel dust around the colorful Yushan mountain, a white beam of light suddenly burst out. Boom! The head lifted by this ancient white dragon fell down heavily, and his anger completely disappeared. This ancient dragon turned into a dragon that had undergone unknown years and hardships. The real king fell and fell. But the white light of its powerful power on and around the ground did not disappear. Wei saw. Jia and others looked at Wei Xiao, who was standing in front of the skull of this white ancient sky dragon head, intact, making a weeping voice, but at the same time looking at these inexplicable white lights, the expression on his face, but said unsurprised panic. Wei saw. A keel has fallen. Anvi Xiu and Han Weiwei, at this time, exclaimed almost simultaneously. The ground sprayed by the white light around the colorful Yushan mountain fell like a desertification, but the place where it fell was a humid breath. The white light flowing from the body of the ancient white dragon was like a streamer, and it filled the colorful jade mountain. Driven by the white light emitted from it, several huge dragon skeletons first slid down from the colorful jade mountain, fell to the place where they fell, and slowly sank down. Nu Xiu and Han Weiwei saw such a scene and exclaimed because the skeletons of these dragons were very rare for Wei Suo. Their first reaction was to try to prevent the fall of these dragon bones together with Wei Suo. Don't worry about this. Come to my side and be careful not to fall down. At this time, the dragon spirits around the colorful jade mountain have been dispelled by the power of this white ancient dragon. With Wei Suo's magical power, it is very likely to be able to prevent the decline of some dragon skeletons, but at this moment Wei Suo is watching these dragon skeletons. But there is no movement, just to say this to Jia and Anvi Xiu and others. Wei Suo, what's the matter? These skeletons of the dragons are very useful to you, why don't you stop them? When Jia and Nangang Yuking and others came to Wei Suo, Nangang Yuking couldn't help but ask immediately. At this time, several bones of the dragon, driven by white light, slid down the colorful jade mountain and slowly fell into the place where the white light column rushed out. The bones of the dragon that had fallen down before have completely disappeared where the white beam of light burst. There will be a lot of skeletons left by Tianlong. Wei Suo looked at Nangang Yuking and Jia and said, I made a deal with this ancient Tianlong. A deal? That's why the ancient Tianlong of Fang Cai didn't kill you. Nangang Yuking and others looked at Wei Suo, and they were all very surprised. What deal did you do with it? The Tianlong blood fossil jade mountain and the Tianlong Jingguo on this hill all belong to us. Among so many Tianlong skeletons, all the water system Tianlong skeletons and demon dams that are most useful to my cultivation are also left to me. And the rest of the dragon skeleton let it sink to the ground, let us not dig. Wei Suo looked at Jia and Nangang Yuking and others and explained. This colorful jade mountain and all the skeletons of the water system dragon and the demon belong to us. Hearing Wei Suo said, Han Weiwei's heart was suddenly struck by a sledgehammer, and his heart was shocked and his mouth was speechless. Among the many dragon skeletons of this dragon tomb, there are definitely many skeletons of the water system dragon, and each of the water dragons and the demon are extremely amazing treasures. Even if so many other dragon skeletons are missing, the colorful jade mountain left behind and so many dragon skeletons, dragon pill, is also an amazing treasure trove. This value is even inferior to the spiritual valley in the Qingcheng ruins. This ancient sky dragon can obviously kill us all. Why should we do such a deal with you? Nunchiu was also shocked, but she still looked at Wei Suo with some confusion and asked. It has reached the state where the lamp is completely exhausted and killed us, and the remaining power may not be able to sink all these bones to the ground. And it feels the breath of the mysterious young man coming, knowing that it will take these bones first sink in and wait for it to fall, and the mysterious young man will also dig out all the skeletons of the dragon. Wei Suo looked at Envishiu, took a deep breath, and said slowly, and the most critical reason is that it already feels less than this entire Tianqian continent and Yunling continent. There is an ancient Tianlong. It is already the last ancient Tianlong. This dragon mound is probably the last dragon mound. There will never be another Tianlong entering, there will never be a guardian of the dragon again. So this dragon mound no longer exists and can only sink some dragon skeletons into the ground. The dragon is extinct, and the dragon mound is permanently sinking. In the future, there will be no dragon. With the majesty of the ancient Tianlong, how could he talk to a monk about the conditions? Just after this ancient dragon fell, it also showed such unfathomable power of mystery, which is somewhat unimaginable. At this moment, these kings have no way, just like the peerless Fang Hua, no longer alive, Ji Ya and Nangong Yuking and others. At this moment, they can't help but feel a bit heavy, watching a huge dragon skeleton falling down. They all say, "No, speak up." Is this what Longjian said to you at the end? Han Weiwei looked at the body of the ancient white dragon on the colorful jade mountain, and his eyes were also very complicated. It seems that it just issued a few. Longjian, how much did he say to you? This is not the case. It talks to me about the conditions. It is that direct consciousness comes into my mind. Wei Suo said, that Longyan is a special word, it said to me. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 612. A special word to you, what is it? The eyes of Ji Ya and others all gathered on Wei Suo. Even if the ancient Tianlong was dry and the lamp was dry at the end, the breath was earth-shattering and unmatched. And since it can directly communicate with Weizhuo, what can we say? Naturally, we can also let Weizhuo know with the knowledge. And Wei Suo is naturally impossible to understand Longjian. He knows what this ancient Tianlong said to him. It must also be that when this ancient Tianlong sent out the dragon Yin, he used his consciousness to let him know what it said. What? It is also the use of divine consciousness to let Wei Suo know, and the special Long Yin. This sentence must be extremely important. Muzu is in the forest, the wind will destroy it, the fish dragon turns into a dragon, and the sky will be jealous. Wei Suo looked at the white ancient dragon in front, his eyes flashing. It's this sentence. Han Weiwei was startled. This sentence is usually unremarkable and can be heard in many cases. It persuaded me with the experience of the ages. When I said this sentence specifically to me, it instilled a lot of information in an instant. Although the time is too short, our monk's consciousness is comparable to its consciousness. The difference is too big, but I still feel some clips. Wei Suo looked at Han Weiwei and Ji Ya and explained, it instantly instilled in me how it passed by Jiao Hualong and experienced it for so many years. Many of them have more chances to decay the message of the fall of powerful monsters such as dragonfish and Xiao. This young man, who has been inherited by the three emperors, seems to be an example of its persuasion. That is to say, if any creature is too outstanding, it will suffer more disasters. If the blessings obtained are too amazing, the world will be plagued. In its view, it is absolutely impossible for me to let go and run empty. Trip, let this dragon tomb sink forever, but the rest of these things, in its eyes, are all too fateful, and it is easy to cause disaster. When it said this sentence, it should still instill more deep meaning to me, but its consciousness is too large, and my consciousness is too weak compared to it, so I can only catch these fragments for a while. If people are outstanding, they will naturally stand on the cusp of the storm. Yin Li frowned, but if the blessing is too thick, the world will fall into disaster. Is this necessarily the law of the world? The meaning of the ancient Tianlong should be to say that sometimes monks and monsters can't be excessively greedy, and they can suddenly be coveted. Envzi frowned, thinking. It should be so. Wei Suo smiled bitterly. This ancient Tianlong's consciousness is too large, can penetrate through my divine consciousness, and directly detect my true thinking. If I didn't really agree to its conditions at that time, I tried vainly. If you leave everything here, it will immediately feel that its claws will fall, killing me. The faces of Jia and Anvishiu were slightly discolored. Now, although Wei Suo said it was easy, they all knew the danger. Tianlong's final majesty is unmatched, and the difference between thoughts can determine life and death. Wei Suo reached out and grabbed a piece of real yuan, and took a white pill in his hand. Because of the existence of the wonderful tree fragments in Ti, under the natural erosion and refining of huge qi and blood, it is only a moment's time, and the real element in Wei Suo Ti has recovered a lot. This white pill that exudes the atmosphere of ancient floods, and the water is clear, it is this white ancient dragon's demon pill. After taking the Tianlong dragon pill in his hand, Wei Suo just turned to look at the succubus deer, who seemed to be still in shock, and there was no extra action. Ka! 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 The huge skeletons of ancient Tianlong, pushed by the white light from the white ancient Tianlong, slid down from the colorful jade mountain and sank to the ground. Some skeletons are relatively complete. Under the push of white light, the whole body sank into the underground beside the colorful jade mountain. Some bones have been weathered, white light pushed, directly broken, or even turned into a fluffy dust, scattered in place. People cannot help but feel the vicissitudes of the sea, the invincible years, the supremacy of the past. Today became the bone dust. After some bones were broken and the soil was transformed, the white light just flew forward. It is obvious that this ancient white dragon is finally falling, and only with unparalleled consciousness, it locked each bone that does not belong to the water dragon and pushed it down. These white lights will not have other changes, and these white lights Wei Neng did indeed feel the same as Nangong Yuking, Anvishiu, and others at first. They were not strong. With Wei Suo's cultivation as an example, if they were forcibly blocked at this moment, they could definitely stop a few more dragon skeletons. However, at this moment, Wei Suo saw a few days after the white light, the broken and not falling Tianlong skeleton, but instead stretched his hand and pushed it down the colorful jade mountain with Zhenyuan. There are still so many skeletons of heavenly dragons. This ancient heavenly dragon is right in the end. Just so many skeletons of heavenly dragons are already too much wealth for the monks. Even if it is the golden monk who is super big. The heavy monk, the Xianjing monk, will personally take the shot to it. Han Wei saw that when all the white light disappeared from the colorful jade mountain, all the dragon bones pushed by the white light slid down from the colorful jade mountain, and the entire colorful jade mountain remained. There are more than a dozen dragon skeletons and several incomplete dragon skeletons. The remaining skeletons of the dragon all exude strong or weak water spirits, which are all skeletons of the dragon of the water system. Many of the dragon spirits in the skeletons of these water systems have been lost, but Han Wei saw that among the skeletons of dragons, the round dragon is shining. Among these Tianlong Yaden, the spirit of water spirit and the spirit of Tianlong are also very amazing. An ancient sky dragon is at least equivalent to a great monk of the divine profound realm, and its total amount of true elements is stronger than that of the divine profound realm monk. Even if only 1/10 remains, it is already terrifying. After pushing all the skeletons of the non-water Tianlong down to the colorful jade mountain, the white light on the white ancient Tianlong in front of Wei Suo slowly began to disappear. Wei Suo, it is also a water dragon. Is it leaving its remains for you? Yen Li looked at the white ancient dragon that finally fell and asked Wei Suo. Although it left me with its remains, but it kept protecting the dragon mound, and in the end it did not burn with my jade, which is equivalent to putting me away of life, but I have to maintain awe and respect for it. Wei Suo looked at the white Tianlong Yaden, which was bigger than his Jindan, and looked at the white Tianlong demon again, with a row-pained expression on his face. but he threw his hand and threw the white Tianlong Yadan. After throwing away the colorful jade mountain, and pushing the true element, the white ancient Tianlong, whose white light disappeared, also pushed down the colorful jade mountain. The huge white dragon and white dragon slowly sank below the colorful jade mountain. Seeing such actions of Wei Suo, Nunchiu's eyes also showed some respectful expressions. In her mind, Wei Suo is very different from ordinary monks. Although this guy is sometimes profit-seeking and desperate to grab the benefits, but often, he still has a touch of warmth that other monks do not have, or it can be said to be a touch of humanity. And this kind of human touch is less in the monks who have higher cultivation levels and supernatural powers. Because the higher, the more the monks who control the power of life and death, the more ruthless they are, the more they pursue higher power. Laugh. But at this moment, just as the white Tianlong Yadan and the white ancient Tianlong sank together, the ancient Tianlong, which had already dissipated the white light, suddenly emitted a golden light, which instantly penetrated Wei Suo's brow. Among. What? What is this? Wei Suo was shocked at first, but found that he did not have any damage, but a huge will poured into his own mind like a tide. Immediately, a stunning picture appeared in his mind. A monk stands at the top of a city. The breadth of this monk is not necessarily huge, even more than this white ancient dragon. A circle of divine light emanated from the monk's body, and even enveloped the entire city. In the huge city, hundreds of thousands of monks were creeping, trembling from the heart, surrendering to the monk's majesty, as if in visit this monk. Among them there is even Jindan monk who is in a spiritual form outside. Make this monk standing at the very top of the city like a true king. Is that a mysterious face? Wei Suo's consciousness shouted in horror. He saw the monk with a dazzling light on his body, and a Taoist monarch of tens of feet suspended above his head. This Daozun also exudes infinite divine light and exudes terrifying power. Moreover, this Daozun is an entity. Just like a monk, there are several treasures suspended in front of him, and his hands keep squeezing out a Tao. A huge circle of light lines emanated from the hands of this Daozun. For hundreds of miles around, heaven and earth were vibrated with these light lines. This kind of magical power is not what Weizhuo could imagine. At the moment, the monk's city is also filled with countless kinds of flowers, like countless canopies. It seems that in the city, countless prohibitions have been laid, and they have been inspired at this moment. The sky above the monk's head seemed to crack, showing countless bright lights. This. In the blink of an eye, Wei Suo was in consciousness, and once again screamed that these countless lights came down instantly, and they were countless horrific thunder fires, beams of light, meteorites, fireballs. All sights, within thousands of miles, are endless powers falling from the sky. In the city, one by one the prohibition was broken through. Numerous monks screamed that they were shot into fly ash, and the whole world was like purgatory. In the end, all the prohibitions in the city were completely collapsed. There was no living monk in the whole city. The whole city was divided by the endless power. And the monk, like the king, after all the treasures sacrificed were damaged, finally could not support it. The countless mysterious light lines emitted by the upper phase, all broken down one by one, and finally with a scream of unwillingness, this a monk like a king was also transformed into ashes under the impact of infinite power. At the last moment, Wei Suo saw that the face of this godlike monk turned out to be the same as his own. Ah, Wei Suo awakened in horror, sweating with sweat, as if experiencing it himself. Wei Suo, what's the matter? Are you okay? Ji Ya and others exclaimed anxiously, and then came into his ears. At this time, the body of the white ancient sky dragon and the white sky dragon demon have all sunk, the final white light has completely disappeared, the dust is flying, and the land under the colorful jade mountain has been closed. Tianlong has disappeared from the world. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 613. I'm fine. Weizhuo shook his head. In that picture, the man who exudes divine light, a powerful technique like a king, and the scene of the entire city and the destruction of hundreds of thousands of monks completely let him completely return to God in a shock. What kind of thing is this ancient Tianlong? Looking at Wei Suo's breath, there was nothing scattered, and Han Weiwei already felt that Wei Suo was not damaged, but she still couldn't help being angry towards the white ancient. Tianlong scolded where he sank. This is the last remaining consciousness of this ancient Tianlong. If you gossip, it may cause damage to you. Nun 11 looked at Wei Suo's expression and saw the clues, but it should also be because your trustworthiness, and using the remaining will, pass something to you. It passed something to you. Hearing Envi Xiu said, Han Weiwei seemed to change the white ancient Tianlong instantly and was excited. Why so, did it pass to you? Even if I am not a real dragon, I may not be able to practice. Wei Suo shook his head and stood on top of this colorful jade mountain. As the huge blood in his body washed away, the wonderful tree fragments kept on. The transformed aura is continuously transformed into his real element. While the real element in his body keeps growing, he is in a trance like the king standing at the top of the city. It is gorgeous and dazzling, unimaginable. The world monks are together. At this moment, the remnant thoughts of ancient Tianlong merged with his thoughts, and he fell into an epiphany at once, and he understood it all at once. God profound realm fivefold. Wei Suo uttered these 5 words unconsciously. Shen Xianjing was Hong? What do you mean? Ji Ya and NV11 and others could not help but looked at Wei Suo and asked. This consciousness that the ancient Tianlong finally passed on to me was a scene in which God's profound realm's fivefold power was subjected to heavenly jealousy and was finally destroyed by Tianwei. Wei Suo looked at Ji Ya and others. The eyes of Ji Ya and others were suddenly full of surprise. What does it mean to pass on such a scene to you? It's still reminding me. Wei Suo looked at Ji Ya and others and took a deep breath. I have understood this. According to the records of the classics, only the 4 levels of the real fairyland are cultivated, and the 5 levels of the real fairyland are broken through. At that time, the monk's instantaneous breakthrough of the vitality shock was too violent, which would cause a drastic change in the heaven and earth's vitality and trigger a heavenly calamity. But if a monk and supernatural powers are too powerful, far beyond the 5-fold monk of the general divine profound realm, Mu Xiaoyulin, when the divine profound realm breaks through the real fairyland, it may lead to heaven tribulation in advance. The nun's face suddenly became very dignified. He glanced at Wei Suo and frowned. It means that if a monk's blessing is too amazing, the initial achievement is like a long rainbow. You can only look up and look up. There is no match at all. When the time comes, when the 5 levels of divine profound realm are met, it is possible to provoke the sky tribulation ahead of time and instead suffer the disaster of extinction. It means that Weizhuo is likely to become such a monk. Nangong Yuking's complexion suddenly changed slightly. Any monk is well aware that the reason why the monastic world divides the cultivation into so many levels is that there is an insurmountable gap in strength between the monks of one level and one level. The 5-level monks of the divine profound realm, even because of the powerful harmony, so that the real element is huge. For the shock of the heaven and earth's vitality, the moment when it breaks into the true fairyland, it can even reach the point where the general 4-level monk of the real fairyland breaks through. However, there is still a huge gap between the pure true Yuan strength and the true quaternary monks. Although Wei Suo and others know nothing about the magical powers of monks above the divine profound realm, according to some legends in the world of monasticism, every time the divine profound realm is broken, a new layer of cultivation will give the world a sense of vitality. The power of surgery is even more amazing and huge. Moreover, between the 5 levels of divine profound realm and the 5 levels of true fairy realm, at least they may be different by 100 years. Because since the sky dome, the entire ancient Taoist realm till now, in the history of the Taoist realm, there has never been 100 years to go from the 5-fold cultivation of the divine profound realm to the 5-fold true realm. Even if it is only 100 years, How much experience will the monks above the God profound realm have, how many treasures will they get, how many skills and knowledge will they gain? The 4 monks of the true wonderland are the most unstoppable monks. If they are replaced by a 5-layer monk of the divine profound realm, if there is no expectation, it will definitely only fall. 100% will fall. There are only a few monks above the divine profound realm in the entire Tianqian continent. Moreover, even monks above the Jindan period generally do not spread their insights about their cultivation, so in the entire monastic world, some classics about the cultivation of Jindan monks are already very rare. For example, when Wei Suo was in the Haixian city to form a pill, most of the knowledge about the pill was obtained from Li Yazan, and there was no useful record outside. There are almost no books about the cultivation of God profound realm. In the 2000 or 3000 days of the Tianqian continent, there haven't even been any monks with more than 4 levels of God profound realm. Even if Wei Suo can successfully cultivate the divine profound realm, or even the 4-fold and 5-fold peerless cultivation of divine profound realm, I am afraid there is no information about how much divine profound realm is cultivated. Not to mention Wei Suo, even the female nun with an extraordinary status, did not know anything above the God profound realm. And according to the situation that this ancient Tianlong deliberately finally brought this picture into Wei Suo's divine consciousness, it is possible that the vast majority of the gods and monks in the profound realm are also unaware of some stunning genius monks in the divine profound realm. When it is 5-fold, it can even provoke sky tribulation. This ancient Tianlong experienced many years and did not know, and when Wei Suo practiced the quenching of the dragons, he knew that the heaven and earth in the eyes of the dragon were very different from the heaven and earth in the eyes of the monk. 2. There are many trajectories not expected. It is now obvious that in the eyes of this ancient Tianlong, Wei Suo is very likely to become the godlike monk in the picture. So in the end, the ancient Tianlong used the remnant will to introduce the scene into Wei Suo's mind, which is extremely important. Without such a message, Wei Suo may fall 100%. In other words, this ancient dragon might even see an unimaginable trajectory, or even see the fall of Wei Suo in advance. Even if Lin Fenghua, who inherited the inheritance of the 3 emperors of the ancient times, got the dragon tomb completely. Not surprisingly, he should also fall like a monk like the king. Wei Suo looked at Ji Yat and others nodded. He was the last to take into account the dignity of this ancient white dragon, without swallowing its flesh and dragon pill, and sinking it to the ground, but this white dragon also surrendered to the peach, so that he avoided such a fall. Knowing such a trajectory now, even when Wei Suo becomes such a monk, with sufficient preparation, it may not be like the monk in the picture, and eventually fall with hatred. Jia, you have to collect all the bones of the dragon and dragon pill before you talk about it. Wei Suo moved his hands and took out dozens of Nabeo sacks, and took out all the amazing ancient ring of Na'u. Passed to Ji Yat. Are you going to kill yourself, or do you want me to kill you? After handing these things to Ji Yat, Wei Suo looked at the succubus deer who hadn't paid attention, and sneered, or I can give you a choice, if you surrender to me and let me be the emissary, I will spare you. The guy with the surname Wei, didn't think that this ancient Tianlong didn't slap you with a slap. It was also a monster, but it didn't do a deal with me, do a deal with you. What an idiot. Watching Wei Suo looked at himself, this the head succubus deer is not afraid, but his face is somewhat proud. Do you think you have already won the game? Do you think that only you have some means? You see which monster of level 8 or above would bow Chen to the monk? The look on the face of this succubi deer wrinkled Wei Suo's brow slightly. He couldn't think of any other means that the other party could rely on. Now the breath of this succubi deer is as messy as the dead leaves in the wind. Obviously, under his heavy blow, he suffered a lot of damage. I am afraid that even the decent technique has not been stimulated. I told you, you don't have to kill yourself. Following my boss will not let you suffer at this time. Yang Zi Bird couldn't help saying this. If you kneel down and beg me now, I might put you on horses. Succubus deer sneered, with a sniffy smell mixed in some delicate voices, with deep disdain. Are you sick? Yangtze bird looked at this long-tailed blue spirit bird incredulously. I think it is also a bird, how the difference is so big. Do you know what this is? The succubus deer suddenly smiled slyly and moved his position, revealing a billowing thing behind him. This is a red bead, golden and clear. It looks like glaze on the outside, but it looks like a golden sea on the inside. This thing was discovered when it was first hit by a mysterious young man and fell to the ground. What's this? I don't know. Yang Zhiniao froze and shook his head. Well, Wei Suo and Envi Xiu looked at each other, and immediately reached out to take out a drop of fiery dragon blood and tapped it into the chest of ghosts. Don't be busy, let me tell you what it is. There are two kinds of things called this, one kind is nice, called Tianyujing, and the other kind is called the obscene dragon bag. Seeing Wei Suo with such a movement, the succubus deer smiled slightly, and looked at Wei Suo, Ji Ya, Envi Xiu, and others with a deep meaning. Not good. Wei Suo, kill it. As soon as she heard the succubus deer's words, Nun 11 suddenly changed her face and exclaimed. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 614. Snapped. At the same time as the female celebrity exclaimed, the succubus deer lightly shattered the shell of the round danzu directly. At the same time, a dark golden brilliance and blue light flashed, and the succubus deer flew backwards again, vomiting a blood in his mouth. Then, a cyan demon fell back on her, causing her to vomit blood. What blocked Wei Suo's blow was the demon pill sacrificed by this succubi deer. Now that she has completely transformed into a blue Luan, even Yaden has completely transformed into a blue Luan, but the damage she suffered before is really too heavy. Now it is difficult to resist Wei Suo's attack, but it is even herself. The demon pill couldn't control it, but instead he was spitting blood by his own demon pill. The situation looked very miserable. It's not that easy to kill me. I can watch the halftime show before I leave, but her eyes were filled with an inexplicable look. At the same time as her voice came out, the broken danzu burst into a golden yellow mist like a tide. This aerosol is like a sea breeze, a little damp, but it also has a faint smell of sweet wine. Not good. This ghost thing can also dispel the true spirit and vitality. I can't come out. The green light on the ghost tank flashed, the voice of the old man in the green robe just sounded, and the panic disappeared suddenly. It was obvious that the old man in the green robe was just scared back, and was scared back. What? Seeing the golden yellow mist explode instantaneously, Envi Xiu's body shook violently, his face pale without a trace of blood. The golden yellow mist immediately envelopes the colorful jade mountain, and the strange vitality makes everyone's skin look radiant and radiant. What is this? Han Wei couldn't help but exclaimed. She had just recovered some of the real elements, but it was instantly gone. The ablation effect of this golden aerosol on the true elements was still just like the dragon's chi on the day that she was just there. And in this golden yellow mist package, she still had a feeling of something wrong. What was wrong in the end, but she couldn't feel it at all, just as if there was a tingling sensation of itchiness, rising uncontrollably from her heart. What is this? Wei Suo's face was gloomy, and he turned to ask the nun beside her. The true element in his body was once again gone for an instant, and the look of succubus deer who had fallen into the dragon bone dust again made him feel extremely dangerous. But touching his eyes, Envzio not only did not immediately answer his words, but also shivered all over again, unconsciously stepping back like a frightened deer. You are too small to see the strength of our high-level monsters. Although your ancestors have left you with countless monks, but we also have many things that you monks can't match. Falling down in the dragon bone dust, succubus deer coughed gently and looked at Wei Suo with great pride. You don't need to ask others, I will tell you what this thing is for. there is a kind of ancient dragon named Feng Kanglong. This kind of dragon is a powerful wind system by nature, but it is indifferent in nature. It is alone and has no interest in breeding offspring. If it is according to the nature of this dragon, I am afraid one generation is going to be extinct. But when this kind of Kanglong grows, it will also spawn a crystal of heavenly desire, also known as a prosperous dragon sac. When it reaches adulthood, when the essence is most vigorous, this thing will melt away on its own. So that the indifferent nature of the dragon is full of boundless love desire, looking for a partner, and breeding offspring. In order to prevent the monk from disturbing it when it is emotional, the vitality of this day can also make all the real and demon elements of the monks and other monsters close to it disappear, and the consequences will be, let the monks and monsters who have touched this vitality have also fallen into boundless love desire, without extrication. What? Upon hearing the words succubus deer, Wei Suo's complexion turned instantly white. At this moment, he also felt an extremely strange feeling rising in his body, making him unable to control it. The easiest thing to say is that this kind of thing is the most potent charm medicine. Succubus deer looked at Wei Suo and others with a very scornful look in his eyes. Her gaze swept over Wei Suo's body, and fell on the body of the nun who was shivering and trembling, as if drenched in the heavy rain. From now on, you should be unable to control yourself and fall into complete love and desire here. Wei Suo, isn't there two of you who are your mates? There is this male trainer, he is it your friend? What do you mean by that? Upon hearing this sentence, Han Weiwei's body also shook violently and shouted with a pale face. What else can it mean? Succubus deer sneeredly looked at Han Weiwei. If a friend is face to face with your fellow buddies in double cultivation Huan, what do you think after you wake up? After a chuckle, Succubus deer glanced at Han Weiwei and the female cultivator. Wait, maybe you and him will also keep cultivating. Maybe you and his cultivator will not be able to double cultivating with Wei Suo. If you really want to know how, I can stay there for a while, and then leave some writing here to tell you who you are practicing first with. Impossible. If this thing is the same as you said, how could you not be affected? Upon hearing this succubus deer, Ji Ya and Nangong Yuking, Wei Suo and others' faces all changed completely. And Han Weiwei couldn't help screaming. I said that our high-level monsters also have a lot of things that you can't reach. My demon element is now gone, but our blood of the Phoenix family is not affected by this feeling desire. Succubus deer smiled triumphantly and gave Han Weiwei an unwilling glance. Look, I am now a real Green Luan, the bloodline of the ancient Feng clan, and is this what I said to me again? Should you be clear now? I'm going to kill you. Han Weiwei made such a sound. But her body was shaking like a lotus leaf in the water, her teeth were fighting slightly, her legs were tied together, her feet could not be moved, her delicate face said, the redness is not pervasive. Wei Suo stepped towards the smug smiling succubus deer, his body exudes a monstrous murderous intention, but at this moment the world in front of him seems to be distorted, and his consciousness seems to have been an extremely powerful force pressed against the body of Ji Ya and Nangong Yuking. Kill me. Wei Suo, kill me. I will always be yours. Kill me and avenge me. Ji Ya's consciousness was about to get lost, a stream of heat seemed to keep pouring in and out of her body, pushing her towards Wei Suo, but at this moment, only a trace of her, who remained clear, was facing Wei Suo. Made a sad cry. Kill me. Nangong Yuking also made such a sound almost at the same time, but her cultivation behavior was not as good as Ji Ya's, and her eyes were completely blurred. It was only at this moment that Wei Suo was completely moved. Wei saw. His hand was held by Yinlai. Yinlai stood beside him, her shoulders trembling, but her hands grasped Wei Suo's one tightly. The palms of her hands were very hot, and her eyes seemed to drip. Her pair of slender jade hands, with Wei Suo's hand, slipped into her dress, holding the soft and delicate tower. Nunchiu's body was as if hit by some thunder spell, shaking more violently. Her gaze stayed on the rock in front of her, and she wanted to hit the rock in front of her. But at this time, Boom wheezed softly. Just a glance, her body couldn't move. A delicate figure leaned softly on Weizhuo's body and grabbed Weizhuo's other hand. This delicate figure, the buttocks are very upright, and the waist is full of grip, which outlines a perfect curve. It's Han Weiwei. The desperation and helpless chill on Han Weiwei's face had just disappeared. Her bright red lips were trembling, and she seemed to have faint tears in her talking eyes, struggling, shy, anxious and begging. The silver coat on her body was half untied, and a straight slender and half jade ball appeared, dazzlingly white. Wei Suo's hands were taken into her lower abdomen by her. She leaned on Wei Suo's body, as if she could not breathe, with a peculiar gasp in her voice. There seemed to be a loud noise in the mind of Nunchiu. All her sense of resistance disappeared at this moment, as if at this moment, Wei Suo turned into an extremely huge vortex, sucking her and bringing her closer step by step. In the past. Who asked you to kill me? Succubus deer saw that Jia and Nangong Yuking also hugged Wei Suo in the back, and her hands trembling touched every place of Wei Suo. Her eyes are filled with the thrill of revenge and she is very proud. How is it possible? But suddenly I saw the nun, and the succubus deer screamed in disbelief, and almost jumped up. There is a layer of transparent luster disappearing on Envzio's body, but the shape of he is changing. He actually was. This succubus deer looked at Nun 11's changes, and his brain was blank. But at this moment, a figure with a faint yellow light on it suddenly appeared in front of her. What are you doing? Already a real Greenluan succubi deer suddenly reacted like something, and gave a terrified scream. The figure of Yang Zi bird pressed against the Greenluan. Save life, Qingluan struggled desperately, but at the moment she was hit hard, but she couldn't push Yang fat bird at all. Stop it, a cry with a cry made a sound immediately. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 615. Cry what cry? I said I will be responsible for you. How, cry, then I will come again. A sound like this, and the next sobbing sound of wanting to cry but not to dare to cry, and a slight crackling sound made Wei Suo startled and seeing woke up. All around were low and sweet breathing sounds, and the golden yellow mist covered in the colorful jade mountain had all disappeared. Even the Tianlong Shiqi on the pale white underground plains in the distance had almost disappeared. Obviously, the time had passed for a long time. The real element in Wei Suo Ti seems to have recovered a lot, but the entire consciousness is very lazy, as if passing through too many teleportation circles. The consciousness is exhausted, and has just rested, and has not recovered. Look. What? With a clear mind, just after figuring out where he was, Wei Suo was trembling like an electric shock, his whole body was stiff, and his breathing stopped. At this moment, Wei Suo was all over his body, hugging two beautiful ladies who were also naked. These two equally beautiful ladies, one of them curled up behind her like a kitten, is Yin Li. Her skin was extremely smooth and soft, and a crisp chest was squeezed against Weisot's back, and the shape made everyone seeing it. Another naked lady, the jade body lines are extremely soft, and her body is slightly wet, it seems that the sweat is not gone. This naked lady is really Han Weiwei. He and Han Weiwei, what makes Wei Suo's body stiff is that his two hands are still on Han Weiwei's smooth buttocks, and the other hand is holding Han Weiwei's one. On Han Weiwei's white jade body, there are red palm prints and fingerprints everywhere, and obviously there are traces of rough kneading. And there was a trace of red on her white buttocks. There are also two near beauties, who also lie down under Weso. Nangong Yuking's upper body vest is still almost intact, but the hem of the vest is all rolled up, and the seductive secluded place has unspeakable and shocking traces. Jiya's vestment is half covered and half covered, revealing a jade body that is almost ordinary. Her noble and delicate jade body also left a lot of savage marks, and at this moment she is using Wei Suo's thigh as a pillow, sleeping very sweetly, and her tempting corner of the mouth shines on the colorful jade mountain. Next, a little bright. If at ordinary times, Jiya's behavior alone was enough to make Wei Suo unbearable, and the blood of the animal was boiling. But seeing another figure, Wei Suo's heart was in indescribable grief at the moment, and he wanted to die directly. This other figure is also under Wei Suo. Now Wei Suo is slightly sideways, but this figure is squeezed between Wei Suo and Nangang Yuking, some loose yellow robes, also covering most of the figure, leaning on Wei Suo. This yellow robe is a female cultivator. When the female cultivator came in with Wei Suo and others, she was dressed as a yellow-robed red-faced man. Now the nun was squeezed between Wei Suo and Nangang Yuking, curling her back to Wei Suo, but in front was tightly attached to Nangang Yuking's body. Now the two slender all of Nangang Yuking's vests are exposed outside, and there are traces of shock on his body. Did the scene that Wei Suo was least willing to see still happen? He and Nangang Yuking, even with Jiya and Han Weiwei, as soon as they saw the marks on Nangang Yuking, Jiya and Han Weiwei, Wei Suo felt that his chest was about to split. But as the sanity became clearer, Wei Suo's eyes widened, and his body was completely stiff. He found a part of himself, actually, unexpectedly, and was tightly embraced by the soft and wet. He was still in the most intimate double cultivation state with this female practitioner. Oh my God! Wei Suo suddenly felt that the sky had collapsed, and his eyes were black, and a spit of blood was coming out. He and Nangang Yuking, and they are the things he was least willing to see. Now he even engages in Wei Suo turned out to be a man. And they are still. Suo feels that he has no fun in his life, and he can die completely. His whole body and mind are about to twitch, but at this time, it may be because he moved, but the yellow robe was issued. It sounded as though sleep was disturbed, and whispered softly with some pain. What's the matter? Wei Suo tightened again. Did you hear it wrong? Because Wei Suo heard clearly at this moment, it was a nice female Shiu's voice. What made him wide his eyes again was that he suddenly found that the figure under the yellow robe covered most of the figure. How could it seem inexplicably graceful, and the breath was completely different from before? This. Wei Suo flicked his fingers a little tremblingly, a real voice silently pushed the yellow robe aside. He was too nervous to look at the scene under the yellow robe, but when the yellow robe was just opened a little, what he saw made his body stiff again, and his breathing stopped completely. Under the yellow robe, it was also an absolutely beautiful female nun who had nothing to do with it. The hair of this beautiful woman was scattered like a waterfall. It seemed to be a little bit painful in her sleep, and her thin pair of eyebrows slightly curled. The delicate beauty that her face couldn't tell. Her jade body is perfect. At the moment, she is curving her body, as if she is afraid of being violated, but is pressed and attached by Wei Suo. The look on her face was a bit scared, a little anticipating, and a little confused, as if she had just landed on this earth, and she didn't know the fairy of this earth. This. And Wei Suo suddenly found out how the female nun who was not under Jiya was so familiar. It looks like the one in the portrait, Shui Ling. This fundamentally unexpected change, Wei Suo couldn't help but moved all over the body and shivered. Because of Wei Suo's tremor, the female nun's brow furrowed and her eyes opened a little confused. A pair of bright eyes happened to face Wei Suo. What? At this time, Wei Suo suddenly could not help but uttered a soft exclaim. Ah! Boss, are you awake? The sound of Yangtze bird came from behind a dragon skeleton on the colorful jade mountain, and the slight crackling sound stopped. Boss, you won't wake up until I wake up. It's not embarrassing for everyone to see each other. When you call me out, I'll come out. Se Nuxio also obviously hasn't recovered her mind, but she was shocked. She was subconsciously separated from Wei Suo, but her body was completely lazy and weak, but only twisted a few times. Boom, this time, she also felt something like it, and immediately groaned almost like a cry, and the face was immediately covered with red clouds. Suo also only felt that the spirits were all stunned. Some of the breath of this female nun seemed to have some peculiar attraction to him, making him feel unwilling to leave this female nun's body. You originally a female nun, have you always relied on technique to dress up as a man? At this time, he was just a little embarrassed and asked this sentence. The fabulous female nun still hasn't completely cleared his spirits, just subconsciously, nodded. She's a female nun. So to speak, they are all me. Originally, Wei Suo had been completely ashamed of death. This time, he immediately removed all the shackles in his heart, giving him a feeling of being completely alive. At this moment, seeing the expressions of Ji Ya, Nangang Yuking, Yin Li, and Han Wei next to him, how can he still control, and immediately attack the female Xiu under him? Weizhuo, don't. Wei So started to move, the woman's eyes suddenly widened, trying to resist, but just after a while, she closed her eyes, a very mysterious pair. The expression, between the lips, could not help but make some awkward sounds. No more, Wei Suo, I can't eat it. If I go on like this, it will damage my future cultivation. I don't know how long after that, the female nun's body softened and made a begging voice. What? A cry of exclamation from Nangang Yuking immediately rang. She and Ji Ya and others seemed to be under the medicine of that day, and their physical strength and consciousness were extremely exhausted. They fell into an extremely sweet sleep, and some voices did not wake up for a while. But when he was invaded by Wei Suo, he woke up immediately. Ah, Wei Suo. A moment later, Nangang Yuking's begging for mercy rang again. What? Han Wei groaned, and suddenly rang again. In the purple Zhenyuan package, Wei Suo and Han Wei fit tightly together. Han Wei's eyes opened up, looked at Wei Suo's eyes again. Suddenly, 2 crystal tears rolled down Han Wei's eyes. The effects of Yujing haven't completely dissipated yet. Wei So, who was starting to attack Han Wei, looked at him suddenly, and seemed to be calmed by cold water. He responded at once. Over here. If it is in normal times, even in such a scene, with his seeing feeling, it is estimated that he will dare to find Ji Yao immediately, and will never directly hug Han Wei beside him. Smelly rogue, Wei Suo's heart shivered with a little regret, but at this moment, Han Wei hugged him at once, trying to bite him hard, but he seemed to be afraid of his teeth. It hurt so much that he bit him lightly. At this time, Wei Suo suddenly couldn't stand it anymore and started to move. In fact, in Wei Suo's heart, he always liked Han Wei, otherwise he wouldn't have been so coddled with her since he met her from the beginning to now. Ah, stinking rogue. Han Wei's head lifted up, and a piece of green silk kept floating behind her head. The expression on her face was a bit painful, but it seemed to be a little rejoicing.